Thank you so much. Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call to order the Planning and Development Committee meeting. Can I have a roll call?
McCarthy.
Here.
Bolt.
Here.
Longard.
Here.
Munn.
Here.
Yem.
Here.
Solomon.
Here.
Petrilla.
Here.
Werba.
Here.
Bessner.
Here.
Weber.
Here.
Excellent. Okay. First order of business is the omnibus vote. Do I have?
We don't have any. We have no.
We have nothing on omnibus.
Nothing on the bus. No.
Then we do not have a vote.
Not tonight.
So then the first item is item A, our presentation of concept plan for the shops at Pheasant Run. Thank you, Ellen.
Thank you. A concept plan has been filed by SC Landman LLC proposing redevelopment of the remaining 34 acres of the former Pheasant Run resort property. Two site plans have been submitted for concept level review, and the applicant will present these plans tonight. Proposed is to use the existing regional business zoning classification and request a planned unit development, which could allow certain zoning deviations, such as permitting a number of drive-through facilities on the property. If the developer chooses to pursue the project after the conclusion of concept review, they would need to submit applications for PUD and subdivision that would require council approval. Also, plans would need to be submitted for each individual lot for council approval as end users are identified. Plan Commission reviewed the concept plan on December 2nd, and their comments are summarized on the executive summary. Derek is going to address the financial incentive request.
Good evening. Just real quick, wanted to inform the committee, as we indicated in the executive summary, that the applicant has also submitted a Part 2 application for financial assistance with this project. It is located in the Pheasant Run TIF district. It's always been assumed that with this property that there would be some type of request due to the groundwork there and some of the materials that are on the property. The amount is $3.3 million that they're requesting. Not going into detail tonight on what the request is and whether that should be given, but wanted to inform the committee just so that they know at the concept level that a request would be coming down the line, and it would kind of go concurrently with the entitlement process.
I did fail to mention one thing outside of this item, that there is no agenda item tonight for the Claiborne Farms. They have asked to defer the presentation until January, so if anybody is here for Claiborne Farms, that will not be presented tonight. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. I was just going to turn it over to the developers team to make the presentation.
Great.
Good evening. Thank you very much. My name is Peter Nicastro. For the record, my last name is spelled Necastro. I am an attorney with the law firm of DLA Piper in Chicago, located at 444 Westlake Street in Chicago. Together with my colleague Katie Jenke-Dale, who cannot be here this evening, I represent the applicant in this matter, SC Landman LLC. The applicant is an affiliate of Equity Development, and I'm joined tonight by the principals of Equity, Ivan Knockoff, Chris Alikis, and Kyle Glascott. I'm also joined by representatives of Spaceco, the project engineer, and JRG, the project's financial consultant. As staff indicated, the applicant seeks to redevelop the remaining acreage of the former Pheasant Run Resort, which is shown here. The project would create a regional asset offering shopping, dining, and recreation amenities anchoring the Route 64 commercial corridor. As Ellen also indicated, the applicant has presented two possible site plans. Both plans call for a mixed-use development suitable for a wide range of retail and commercial uses. Possible end users under both plans include retail banking, restaurant, medical, daycare, automotive, and small grocery establishments, as well as general retail. The two plans differ primarily in the proposed use of the easternmost parcels. Option 1, which you see here, proposes development of a car dealership on those easternmost parcels as a single lot. In the alternative plan, Option 2, these parcels will be developed with a gas station and convenience store and possibly one additional use to be determined. The selection of a final proposal will depend on the applicant's assessment of market conditions and tenant demand. As Ellen also mentioned, we received very helpful and very full comments from the Plan Commission last week, and the applicant has already begun to refine the proposals to incorporate and include a lot of those comments, especially with respect to landscaping, signage, and pedestrian amenities, as well as public art installations. I can highlight some of those here. You can see that certain patio amenities, certain pavers are being considered, different seating areas, and we'll be glad to discuss some of these ideas in greater detail. Here we have some concepts for some public art installations, including murals and possible sculptures, as well as signage. We were grateful that members of the commission last week were familiar with the applicant's previous projects and with Equity's commitment to the aesthetic appeal of its properties. These buildings will be no exception, and they'll be designed for consistency with surrounding similar uses, and will be constructed of high-quality materials to make the development an appealing entrance and gateway to that Route 64 commercial corridor. Just to sort of recap the relief and assistance that is being sought, as Ellen mentioned, we would be applying for, following concept review, we would be applying for a special use for a PUD, and through the preliminary and final plat processes. We believe that the project can satisfy the criteria for PUD approval, not least in promoting a harmonious mix of land uses and by redeveloping this obsolete prime commercial property. We also believe a PUD is appropriate because the site's size, complexity, and its significance here in St. Charles. In addition, the PUD process will afford us the certainty of entitlements as we actively seek financing and market the property to end users. Just because this came up last week, and Ellen also highlighted this, we understand that in obtaining the special use for the PUD, we would be seeking approval for a maximum number of drive-through uses, and that's to give us sort of maximum flexibility as we market the site. Happy to discuss that in greater detail tonight as we can, but we understand at the outset that the location and design of those particular drive-throughs would be subject to further review through the preliminary and final platting process. As Derek mentioned, we also seek TIF assistance. We will be seeking TIF assistance through the Pheasant Run TIF District. The project will incur a number of extraordinary costs, TIF-eligible costs, related to environmental remediation and infrastructure development. And as Derek mentioned, we have submitted both the Part 1 and Part 2 applications, and our financial consultant is on hand tonight to address any questions that you might have about those. With that, I think I'll briefly turn it over to Spaceco to address the site plans in greater detail, and then we welcome your questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Brett Duffy with Spaceco, 9575 West Higgins Road, Suite 700 in Rosemont, Illinois. Peter did a great job of summarizing half the things I was going to talk about tonight, so I'll skip to a couple other things that he didn't cover. As you mentioned, the site's about 34 acres, redevelopment, ranging anywhere from 12 to 15 lots, depending on the user that comes in the retail section here. We're looking to get our access points into the facility. It will be, first one will be off of Couch Road, lining up with the Target entrance, just south of North Avenue, Main Street. Looking to do 2 additional cuts onto Main Street, which will require, obviously, coordination with the IDOT. And then we'll have one or two additional connections to Pheasant Run Drive, which was just recently reconstructed, and further Greco development to the south. Based on our meeting last week with the Plan Commission, there was some discussion about adding some additional pedestrian ways onto the property. That was also mentioned in a review letter you received from staff. So this exhibit that's shown currently, the areas in green, we're kind of highlighting some of our backbone infrastructure improvements for additional sidewalk for pedestrians to get onto the property. Mainly the extension of the sidewalk along Couch Road will be connecting into where Greco left their sidewalk at the south end, bringing it up to Main Street, heading eastward towards Pheasant Run Drive, and then connecting over at that intersection, then running another sidewalk along the access road, the new access road to be constructed as part of this project. From there, each individual user will construct a sidewalk connection to bring pedestrians to their to where their use is going to be, whether it's a retail facility or a restaurant will have connections that will be constructed as part of those individual lot improvements. So we'll be working on that design as we move forward into preliminary plat and PUD. We'll start to define those a little more detailed as we get further in the process. Another slide that was provided in today's additional information to the board is our critical infrastructure plan. The purple highlighted infrastructure or roadways and access drives to provide access to all of the lots. This is critical for the development. We'll put the infrastructure in, and then all the future lots come in and tie into that infrastructure. There'll be multiple drives for them to utilize to get access into their property. And there'll be some landscaping along the perimeter, highlighted in green. So we'll be doing some perimeter landscaping, meeting the village's code for that. Go back to the other slide here. We also identified some other areas on the slide here, like in open spaces, in the backside behind these buildings, where we can do some additional, where there's some space open, we can do some landscape berming and some other type of plantings along in the back to soften the retail uses to the north. So that kind of covers the additional documents that were provided in today's slideshow. So if you have any questions, feel free to answer any questions. I don't know if anybody from Beckley wants to come up or open up for questions.
Do you want to open it for questions, or do we have more presenters?
No, we're happy to take your questions at this time. Thank you.
We can go to Mark first.
Yeah, thank you guys for all coming out tonight. Excuse me, I took some notes. I'm going to be a little bit reading off my phone, so I'm not trying to be rude here, not making eye contact as I go. And again, I understand this is just us kind of discussing some ideas, so these are just my thoughts for all of you to consider as this kind of plan moves forward, as this is in the ward of myself and alderperson Salkaitis, and it's come a long way in the last 3 years from what it was when I got on council, and it was quite the eyesore over there. So we appreciate the interest that you guys have getting over here and develop it. There's some aspects of this plan I'm really fond of and really like. Really like the idea of the car dealership. I think that's great. That's a strong sales tax generator for the city. Daycare, as you kind of talked about, or was there the urgent care thought as well?
There are possible
okay.
medical.
And I'm assuming based on your research, you guys know best, even though we already have a couple of urgent cares pretty close by, I'm assuming, but both of those I think are great community needs, and there's something that can go a long way in that area as well. That being said, I'm hoping for a little bit more I was hoping for a little bit more of what we were kind of talking variety. Not a total fan of so many drive-throughs, personally. I just think that it can be from better use, and and I think St.Charles in that area, it's very repetitive with the banks on the corner. We got a bank on the corner here at Tyler Road, we got a bank on the corner here at Kirk Road, and then we'd have a bank on the corner here at Cost Road. Like, the repetition of it, and I do get some of this stuff is zoned for this, and it could go in, but these are just some thoughts I have to make it better. I'm going to tell you right now, I am not a fan for another car wash on the east side of town. I think we have plenty of those. So that is something right now that I look at that just makes it very, very hard to support. There wasn't any thought of any type of hotel, though, was there, just to clarify?
Not specifically.
Okay,
at this
great,
time.
because I just wanted to make sure that that was not going to be something that was thought of, even put in. I couldn't remember if I saw it in there, but I just kind of wanted to clarify because I wanted to make sure we weren't taken away from some of our existing hotels, that type of thing. Like I said, I understand it's kind of zoned for some of those things, and I understand some of the fast casual dining in there could be some positives, totally get it. I just don't want to see it be completely repetitive with that. Love the idea of the small grocery store. Thought something that would be good, or maybe something like a fitness center, or something that could be an entertainment-based idea as well to provide some of that variety in that quadrant, I think would be great. The incentive requests we're looking at here, we do understand there are some soil foundation issues that, yes, the city, I think I can speak for all this person, so yeah, that's something that we know we got to have our hand on. But if it's going to be used for a drive-through and a car wash, that money I'm not going to be able to support. Those are my thoughts.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Echoing my colleague here, I'm worried about traffic flow with all those drive-throughs in that area. I think the way it's presented, there's just too many restaurants with drive-throughs. I have trouble supporting that. I like the other aspects, the daycare, the bank. I'm not a big fan of. Kind of a one-use kind of building, and it doesn't generate any money for the city. The car dealer, I think, is an excellent idea. I'm all in favor of going with that plan. No car wash either. I'd have a problem with that. One time there was a proposal about a truck stop there. I would not be in favor of that. On the whole, it's a nice project. Going with the money you requested, the incentive. I understand taking care of the remediation for the environmental concerns and other problems. I understand that. But the other money is something I guess I'd have a concern with. I guess we have to talk about that and see what we can do about that. Just a question. Okay, the buildings. Who owns the buildings? Will you be buying them and then leasing them to each, or would they buy the building and would they own it? I mean, has that been thought of yet?
I'll step in that. Chris Alakis of Equity, 226 North Morgan, Chicago, Illinois. It'll be a combination of each. I mean, really, national retailers all have their own preference, right? So, like, we do both, to answer your question. We're both long-term holders, but we do sell properties. People have their preference, so we do sell some.
So each pad one could be a lease, one could be owned. Is that correct? Is that what you're saying? Okay. And one thing, it doesn't excite me. The buildings are all lined up the same. You know what I mean? It needs some kind of, something that'll make it different. Mostly on our entrance to the city. I like to see something, I don't know how you do it. I'm not the architect, but it's just, it doesn't thrill me, just the way it's presented. The project itself is good. Mm-hmm. How it looks driving down North Avenue, I just think we can do more work with that to make it something unique, something that people would want to go see. But on the whole, it looks pretty good. I mean, a few tweaks here and there. I know this is a concept plan, and these are just suggestions that we're making. Right. So, thank you.
Absolutely, and thank you for those comments. And again, they echo some of what we heard last week, certainly with respect to the drive-throughs and to making the site overall someplace that sticks in people's minds and where people want to go. And that's sort of what we're playing with in some of these concepts. Right. And so we hear that, and we're thinking. And I don't know if you ever saw the before of what it was. Yeah. So we're really looking for some, I mean, we've really been looking, I think, as a group up here for a while, of something that can really be great, because it is the entryway into our city. Absolutely. From the east. So, to echo that, I think that's a main focal point too. But again, thank you. Thank you.
Thanks so much. We'll stay on the side. Ryan?
So my question, the plan is fine. It makes sense. I think my question is more geared towards Derek a little bit. I'm curious. So if you're coming perpendicular down Randall Road, right, you see kind of the same footprint mile after mile after mile, which is very similar to this concept, right? You're going to have standalone buildings, you'll have a tire store, a Culver's, a whatever. It's not, it is what it is. But I'm just curious how this fits in and how this doesn't saturate, what's already existing that's 2 miles away up on your main artery, why we think that this is going to economically impact St. Charles. And then when you have the, elephant in the corner of the room, which is Charlestown Mall, and what's going to go in there, how this potential project is going to complement, contradict, how it's going to work. Because, again, my initial thoughts, from Plan Commission and going through this, yeah, the concept makes sense. It's a good use. We have that everywhere. Just drive down Randall Road, even come down 64, you have that existing right now with Portillo's and PNC and Noodles and Company and Potbelly. We have that. So it's not anything new. It's fine. Is that viable? Is that going to, forget about the concept. Is that going to work? Or are you just going to have things turning over? Or how is that going to make whatever we're trying to do at Charlestown even better? So there's a lot of words I put in there, so I apologize. But you get kind of like, the plan is fine. The plan is good. It makes sense, you're good. But if you're talking 2-3 years down the line of how all this stuff fits together, because, ultimately it's kind of it's your baby. Good luck.
Yeah, I do compare this corridor to Randall Road. I think it's very similar. I don't think that they would be competing. I think they're kind of two different markets for these type of uses. What I see for this site is generally in line with what they're proposing, this small commercial. I'm not expecting a developer to come in and create some type of entertainment district. I do understand the concerns with the number of drive-throughs coming through, and is there anything that we could put in there that's a little bit more exciting? But overall, these are the type of uses, more or less, that I would expect on this site. And as it would impact Charlestown Mall, I do see those as two different opportunities. I see this as more of your standard commercial type of development, whereas Charlestown Mall, we have more land, more opportunity to do something a little bit more exciting over there.
So my last question, or meandering point, is you mentioned, depending on the user. So if you were, is the concept right now that you guys are looking for is, hey, we'll build anything if somebody wants to come in and do it. We think this is the most viable project to get it moving forward. But if somebody else were to come in and say, hey, I want to do X, we'd be happy to work with them. Is that kind of where you guys are at? Or do you think based on, market analysis, research, et cetera, this is the most viable thing that can get done, short of 10 years, who knows what's going to happen?
I'll let the equity team speak to where things stand on that front.
Chris Alakis again. There's a few questions in there, but I'll try my best. So, our business is really based around national retail development, right? So a lot of the clients that we're bringing to this location are clients that we have existing relationships with that may have done this location otherwise, but we're also, help steering them to this location, right? So it's kind of a combination of, our relationships as well as, people that are out there that have wanted the site as well that have brought it to our attention, really piqued our interest. So, we're excited about the redevelopment. We think there's still a need. There's a lot of new, exciting retail and restaurants that are coming into the marketplace that this is a great fit for. With what Greco did down the street, I think it's great for the community. We don't want to compete with that by any means. I think, they knocked it out of the park as far as quality. They're probably one of the only people that could do that based on their relationships, and it's good to see. So I think it's complementary of what they're doing and not competing. And we're concerned about, long-term longevity of these projects as well. We'll own a lot of these parcels for long-term. So, we're really critical on who we put in these projects and want, the best quality that we could find as well for long-term. So.
Yeah, honestly, that's helpful to hear. I mean, for us that were here a few years ago, there was talk of a cases going into where the Andy's Custard and the medical office were, and it was, as that conversation continued on, it was, well, hey, we want to do something. If you guys don't like this, maybe something, and it turned out to work out for the better. Cases, it's a great brand, great space, but they ended up getting a better project, and that old bank got redeveloped. So if you guys are, you know, confident that you guys can move this project forward and you have retailers, et cetera, that want to fill that space, that's reassuring that it's not, hey, we want to do something and, you know, this is the best that we can come up with, so let's do it, so.
No, it's a valid concern. I mean, I think this is a unique project. It's unanchored retail, really. So, like, you know, the depth of this property is somewhat challenging. The pond takes up a lot of it. The industrial behind it took a lot of the depth away from it, right? So you kind of have a long rectangular parcel. You know, we've talked to a lot of the usual suspects for, you know, grocer, small format grocer. Right now, there's not a need for it. That was a plan option that we did play with for a while. Right now, they're considering other markets. Whole Foods is a concern for a lot of the more boutique, smaller grocer format stores. But with that, I mean, unanchored retail is a little bit more challenging, like you said, and that's really the reason why we're proposing kind of a variety of uses across, you know, the 12 to 15 parcels. We need flexibility. I mean, of the 12 parcels or 15 parcels, I think we have about 7 or 8 in negotiations or committed to. So there's about 5 or 6 left that, you know, that's why we're really seeking these drive-through type uses. Obviously, since COVID, everybody wants convenience, everybody wants drive-through. I don't think the plan will end up with that many drive-throughs personally, but, you know, having that flexibility for us in the future in leasing is really important. I mean, there are very high-quality national retailers or restaurants that have restaurants too that drive, you know, significant sales. You know, coffee, I mean, the drive-throughs, you know, Starbucks, you guys know what it does across the street, I'm sure, as far as sales volume. So, like, you know, it's important for the community as well. The dealership's great, but, you know, we can't fit multiple dealers on this site either. It's kind of, the depth's kind of challenging somewhat, but, you know, we're asking for flexibility in future, you know, leasing and saleability of the site with what we're showing today, and it'll probably evolve over time once we have more commitments, essentially.
Okay.
That's all really good, and obviously you have relationships with people that are interested in this development anyway, so they're kind of looking to see what goes forward. My question is more around the TIF request. Right now it's estimated at $3.3 million. Do you have any kind of idea on what those costs would cover if we were to get through the TIF? If there's already an estimate of 3.3, can that go up substantially or go down substantially based on the environmental factors and some of the other improvements? I'm just curious how firm that $3.3 million estimate is today.
So our initial proposal was higher. We scaled it back. I mean, there's a lot of TIF eligible costs for the project financially for us. I mean, they all center around soils, you know, small environmental, a lot of the major infrastructure that we're bringing in and utilities as well. But with that, I mean, the proposal was reduced based on the uses that we're proposing as well. So I know that there's some uses out there that aren't the most desirable to the community or staff, but you know, there's reasons why we show certain users on there as well, and a lot of it's financial too, right? Like banks and car washes are highest and best use from our standpoint sometimes because they'll pay a lot more than the market value of properties, right? So that helps us subsidize a lot of the different costs, and we don't ask you guys for it. So you know, that's why we did reduce our initial proposal pretty much in half. So it is important to, you know, have some flexibility in these uses, like the drive-through users and so forth. You know, they do higher sales volumes than a lot of these non-drive-through type restaurants and so forth. So, you know, with that, I mean, it's really going towards a lot of the soil costs and infrastructure and utilities, though, for the site.
Okay, great. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Excited to get that parcel developed. I just have a couple of questions. One is, I saw on the detailed proposal that the design of the site will reject the national template. Could you speak a little bit more to what that means? I think it was in your plan, unless it was something the commission said, rejecting the national template.
That does not ring a bell off the top of my head. It may have been something that the commission put forward. You know, we do think that the design exceptional and will be
Well,
attractive.
that's really my question, is when you say the design is exceptional, could you speak a little bit more to your thoughts on that, and what control do you have over that? Or is that kind of about signage and the things around the buildings, or?
That's mostly what I was referring to, is this prime location, and, you know, that we take seriously that this is a significant property, and we're hoping to make it especially attractive and special for this location.
Mm-hmm.
So the design of the individual buildings, will that be just sort of left up to those individual businesses, or will there be any design consistency or aesthetic there?
Yeah. A little bit of both. So as landlord, we have landlord building design criteria, which is high quality materials, stone masonry, with some other, you know, trade dress type requirements for national retailers that need their own look, right? So we don't want a uniform look across the project, but we do want aspects of the project that are consistent with design. There'll obviously be a lot of pedestrian friendly design elements, as well, as we kind of talked about some of these slides that are out there right now. I mean, these are more building related or sculpture related, but we want a great customer experience when you pull into the site, right? It's a little unique in that it's not anchored. So, you know, with the depths, we're somewhat limited in what we could do with roadways and so forth, but we do want to contribute more artistic elements to the project with, you know, there's a large portion of the property. I think a third of the property is going to end up being a detention pond. So with that, kind of putting some pedestrian focus on that to where they could, you know, have seating areas by it, enjoy a coffee or a lunch and so forth, to kind of beautify the area and make it more experiential.
This is my favorite slide in the presentation. This looks really great, and it would be nice if the different buildings could be connected with sidewalks all the way around somehow, with these places to be outside and maybe have some shade. So that would be great. Yeah, and really, you know, that's what we kind of made an attempt at here. Some of this will be dictated by the actual users when they come through with permits, but this is just a, you know, conceptual design that I think works really well. Kind of this quadrant right here is a lot of what we're responsible for. We're going to come through pretty immediately with, you know, site plans and buildings and so forth. Really, Lot 3 and Lot 5 are multi-tenant retail buildings. You know, so with that, we have more flexibility. We do have interest from some users for those buildings, whether it's one or two buildings. You know, that's kind of what these slides kind of reflect. It kind of shows you, sorry, what's around here. You know, doing some connected patio areas around the buildings. And if it ends up being one building, we kind of do that on the sides of buildings. These images kind of in the center here are more for pedestrian seating areas kind of along the perimeter of the pond, which would be kind of in this area here and this far area, easternmost side to it. But, you know, having really the signage questions come up a few times, I think we're just proposing per code 1 freestanding monument site per lot, and then 2 shared monument signs, 1 on each of the main intersections here, and then some decorative elements, so like, you know, stone knee wall at the entry, and then some other decorative elements that still need to be further developed that kind of, you know, basically show the entryways or further define the project in certain areas. Thank you. I really encourage those pedestrian elements. I think those will be really lovely additions. Just my last question is, sorry if I missed this, are you able to say who has expressed interest, or who you have commitments from already? Unfortunately, tonight we cannot, but we're not far enough along with any of them, because really we're trying to, you know, further define this plan and our approvals before we actually contractually commit. But you know, a lot of the uses are kind of the uses that we've named, with, you know, both regional, national restaurants, fast casual, coffee, obviously dealership. There's a competing gas station for the dealership we've been talking to. I think everybody's kind of aware of that to date. But, you know, multi-tenant retail as well. And we really haven't marketed the property publicly, just based on the challenges that were associated with it before acquisition. So, you know, we wanted to get through more of our initial approvals with you guys first before really publicly marketing it. But like I said, I mean, I think we have 5 to 7, you know, commitments for parcels to date. So there's still a good amount of leasing to do once we publicly market the property further. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to go to the 2 alderpersons who are on the phone. I'm going to start with Brian Warbaugh.
Thanks, Jamie. Thank you for your presentation. Just some comments and general feedback. Overall, I support the development of the project, but I am not a fan of the gas station / truck stop. That concerns me a little bit. I do like the thought of a dealership, a car dealership going in there. Although with the car dealership, I would want to know what type of time commitment there would be if that property is sold off to a private entity. How long would they be allowed to sit on that property? So that's just more information I would need. Um, the access road that you have in one of your drawings going behind, I think it's to the south. I think that needs a little bit of rework or improvement. Uh, just wondering, will people, according to staff's comments, will cars actually drive that direction? I'm not really sure. That's something maybe to look into a little bit more. Um, Overall, I like what you have going on. I'm just not a fan of that truck stop gas station, just from a traffic point of view and where those trucks would be coming from. Um, but the layout, I think, is something you know best when it comes to marketing and the drive-throughs. Perhaps you could dial back the drive-throughs a little bit to address some of the council members' concerns. Um, but overall, I like the layout. I like what you want to do with it. The TIF dollars, my colleague Bob makes a good point. I'd like to learn a little bit more about what you're using those dollars for. How firm are you on that number? Because we had an experience in the past with the industrial park behind this project where they came in with one number and I think 6 months later they came back with a very, very large number for uh, transformers for power. So that's something I would want defined up front before I make a commitment on something like this. But overall, I like the project. Uh, you know, looking forward to learning more about it as we move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. David Petrella is also on the phone.
Yes. Yes, thanks for the presentation. Sorry I couldn't be there in person. Um, a couple of high-level things. I just want to, first, I do support the PUD. I think PUD is good, in terms of this. It really, in my vision, protects the city and the developer when we discuss the deviations. And I understand and trust, of course, your point of view that there's some challenges and the deviations are required. So that's not a problem. I'm going to echo what a couple of my colleagues mentioned, especially Brian with the truck stop. I'm not too much of a fan of that. I know you mentioned that the market conditions are going to be governing this, what anchors do actually go there. So I do like the fact that the zoning is remaining the same. The comp plan does indicate that it's, we're talking about a corridor here. So I trust that, moving forward, you'll be sensitive and cognizant of the types of tenants that are going that are actually going to be drawing people in from, neighboring communities. And we are within, for lack of a better term, striking distance, if you will, of West Chicago, Bartlett, Wayne, parts of Geneva, things of that nature. So obviously your team knows what they're doing in terms of attracting tenants and interests there that will do that as part of our comp plan. I think overall, yeah, the art, I like the art component as well. Suggested action moving forward. Again, I kind of also agree with Vicky with the pedestrian component. This is a high level concept review. I totally understand, but overall it's nice. And I would support that. The TIF, I do agree with my colleagues as well. There was that incident with the higher level. I noticed in the staff report that the public works assessments haven't been completed yet. So there's still that sort of possibility that upgrades could go over or be more than anticipated. So I don't know. Do you have thoughts on that? I mean, your number, you're pretty good on that, or do you suspect that there could be when I see it, yeah, I'm just concerned. I just don't want it to go too far over, like Brian mentioned. And I noticed that this analysis has not been completed yet, and those could be potentially expensive. The upgrades.
Yeah, thanks very much for the question. It's come up a few different ways here. So I think it might be helpful to hear from JRG, who has put together a financial analysis in connection with the TIF application, and they can speak to this at least in a high-level way now and address how the numbers have come out the way they are.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Christopher Stark. I am with Johnson Research Group. We were asked to look at this project and evaluate the financial need of the project, but more specifically look at the TIF-related costs for this project. In the Phase 2 application that we submitted to the city, this TIF ask is related specifically to the horizontal related to this project. There's the substantial internal kind of reconfiguration of this site. Having grown up in St. Charles, I remember the Pheasant Run, had prom there, so I can imagine what it was back in the day and what it will be today. You can think about all of the internal site infrastructure that existed at that point. Unfortunately, with the redesign of this project, is no longer viable for reuse or reusing it. But we've really tried to stick specifically to kind of the infrastructure-related costs, specifically kind of that utilities, the earthwork, moving stuff around, stormwater. We have estimates of that. I think the one place I know, since it was just raised around a point where additional costs could be considered, where there may be a need for an ask. In an earlier iteration, there were conversations around that rear access road being platted as a public road. As we have discussed in our proposal, it is not done as a public road based on prior conversation from the previous meeting. That would be the one location where we have not accounted for additional TIF-eligible costs. Clearly, a wider roadway, additional lighting infrastructure that would be needed to meet that platted code. In addition, the sidewalk requirements would be different from the private road as it's currently considered. As far as I'm aware, there's no transformer that is being considered as part of this as a major cost. Having been on that side, I understand when those costs come up. The team has worked very hard to try to focus specifically on an ask that was deemed to be more in line with what might be acceptable for everyone. I will note that while we did have a member of our team calculate the sales tax impacts of a potential auto dealership and the gas station and kind of sales tax overall, the request by the team does not include any ask for those sales tax revenues. We've specifically left this request as a request related to TIF and TIF-eligible costs at this time.
Thank you.
Thank you, for that clarification. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, sorry.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Peter. I know you were just talking a little bit about the cost, but could you talk about what the estimated overall cost is going to be? I'm just trying to figure out the TIF amount that you're requesting versus what the overall cost is going to be.
Thank you. My name is Ivan Malkoff of Equity, 226 North Morgan Avenue, Chicago, Illinois, 60607. So we've done a number of studies of cost, and a number of very good points were brought up here. Electrical infrastructure is a huge component when it comes to cost, and I forget the trustee's name on the phone, but yes, we're looking way over $1 million for just electrical infrastructure distribution. That does not even include the transformers, so it's a huge component to it. So there's I would say, three major components to TIF-eligible cost. Number one, we all know about the demolition aspect, environmental aspect. There is some tank infrastructure that has to be demolished. There is all the contamination from the actual burn process and so forth and so forth. The second component is items that were just buried in the ground when demolition was completed. Things were not done by the book, and so somebody has to now go and get it done by the book.
So that's a major component where we have to, in essence, go in there and start digging and looking for issues to fix, in essence. And unfortunately, it's the only way to do it because otherwise you can never get to your compaction that all of these tenants would need, in essence. Number three, when it comes to the utilities, we did mention electrical, but it is important to note that it's not just electrical. Yes, that's a huge component. And to what Chris was mentioning previously, this is the reason why the initial number was $6+ million, because accounting for all these items, we're way over $8 million. So we knew that that's a little bit of too much of an ask, so we reduced it, and then we reduced it one more time to the 3.3. But to other utility items that need to be accounted for here, we have a major water main loop that we have to create here, and that would be front and back of the property simply because of hydrants and access for fire vehicles. Number two, the pond takes a substantial portion of the land, but because we're being asked to create a storm drain underneath the private road, we're not taking each one of the lots separately to the pond. We're taking it to a central storm drain, in essence, to handle the water into the pond. So all of these little asks, they all add to the cost of the overall project. And every time you're combining multiple pieces into one piece, whether it's power, whether it's water, or sewer or storm, it doesn't matter. The cost goes up as the size of the pipe goes up, in essence. So yes, very valid points were brought up, and we are very much aware of these costs, and we're just trying to kind of bring the cost to a point where it satisfies some of our needs, and obviously doesn't burden the city as well.
But do you have a number like for the overall cost, like 30 million, 40 million,
Overall cost for the development, or overall cost for the TIF item?
Not the TIF, the total development.
Horizontal infrastructure, we're looking excluding the actual site. So one of the points was brought up, we don't want to have money go from TIF to build a drive-through, for example, right? So overall cost for just horizontal infrastructure, excluding the pads, I think the number was $16+ million. Once you add the actual site development, that adds a substantial amount of money on top of that.
So 16 million?
16+, yes.
Okay. And then...
And just as a scale, some of the numbers we have gotten for grading by themselves are about $5 million.
And then, excuse me for 1 second, but this TIF is pay-as-you-go, correct? Or it will be?
No TIFs are actually designated as pay-as-you-go TIFs. Okay. It's really a what type of agreement we put together. So that is something that could be requested, that there's some type of upfront grant, or it's just pay-as-you-go where they are reimbursed for property tax.
Yeah, I thought we were kind of heading in that direction in the future.
Yeah, in general, that's been what we've heard from City Council over the past few years, is that we prefer pay-as-you-go method.
Okay.
Our adopted policy is actually a pay-as-you-go policy, too.
Yeah.
And just as a scale also, once everything is built, excluding the dealership, the projection is that the cost of spend would be about $58 million overall.
Okay. And then, can you go back to that one slide that shows the purple layout of the roadways? Because over the last so many years, we've been trying to, when we either develop or redevelop, is get these frontage roads going pretty in a straightforward, line, I guess. You said it lined up with Target. Does it line up on the other end as well?
So the access point, as you can see right there on Kyle's, does line up with Target. When it comes on the other side, it actually aligns with the dealership driveways that are on the other side.
This isn't correct. You guys haven't seen the latest dealer. So to clarify, the site plan you guys are seeing is a conceptual dealership site plan done by Equity, not done by the potential dealership. So this has been discussed with the dealership as far as conceptual layout, like buildable areas, non-buildable areas, parking, and so forth. So right now we have designed this frontage road to be aligned with the key dealerships in the east. And although it's not exclusively a dedicated road, like a frontage road, it's a curved road, because we need delineation too. It's the main entranceway to the western, portion of the project as well. So I know it's been a comment in the past, but this will be a curved road with access to, staged cars in the front, but limited access. It's not just a wide open jog through the dealership, essentially.
Okay. Because that's more important, at least to me, in trying to take advantage of the fact that this is being developed, redeveloped, et cetera, that we get that frontage road in there. And then also, the drive-throughs, I don't want to say I have anything against them because I really don't, but again, going back to either a frontage road or limiting the number of them just makes some sense in a number of ways. One, you show beautiful streetscaping. I mean, that stuff is, as Vicki pointed out, it's very nice. But if we talk about a use of urgent care or daycare and, 3, 4, 5 drive-throughs, I'm not sure who's coming down to see all that. So I'm just kind of torn by it. I'm not saying it's good or bad. I think the streetscaping you're planning is beautiful. I just hope the businesses that are going to come there would line up to what they deserve. I guess that streetscape deserves. So I don't know if you have any ideas on that. I know Council Member Spellman asked you in regards to if you had any interest. I'm not asking for any brands or names, but are there any interests of groups that you know of that are going to come here?
Yeah, like I said, it's unanchored retail, so we've kind of really looked closely at the potential uses and, who's in the marketplace, the gap analysis of who's there, who's not. We're very conscious of making the project complementary as well, right? Like, there's a variety of uses here. Restaurants are great for the community. They're highest and best use for sales tax, aside from automotive dealership, which is already proposed, and gas stations. So, I mean, there's things on here that are great for the community. I think they're very limited. There's things that, have been brought up as far as like a bank and a car wash. For us, it's financial in that regard, and it really is a huge benefit to the community in that we're not seeking additional money. It's really helping subsidize the project for us, and that's why we're asking for it. But, we're very conscious of it. We enjoy restaurants and retail just like everybody else does. We want successful tenancy long term and in turn have a successful project from that, right? So, we look at the credit very carefully of who we lease to as well. We lease to both local, regional, and national tenants, but if they're more local or regional in nature, we make sure that they're financially viable and can sustain the location. We also help attract those type of uses by incentivizing them to come to the location as well and build out and so forth. So, we're confident in the project at this point with this tenant mix that's shown. I've heard very clearly that drive-throughs aren't overly attractive, the number of them, but, with that, like I said, I mean, we're just looking for flexibility in the future. The whole reason behind the PUD and us seeking a PUD is for efficiencies and expediting the project to make sure that it gets off the ground and it's delivered and successful, right? So, like, these things are very important for us. I know it's hard to approve something that you don't know what's exactly going there, but, that's our background. I mean, we want the same thing. We're aligned in that same interest. We want high-quality, experienced type users because that's who's successful at this type of location. So
yeah, because the first thing I thought of when I saw the streetscaping was either a bar, restaurant, entertainment type district, or when you showed the lawn area with those cement blocks and all that. That's beautiful, but that reminded me of Geneva Commons, and I'm not trying to compare it to that. I'm not saying it needs to look like that. But Geneva Commons, they don't, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think they have one drive-through through there. So, that's what I'm kind of trying to see how this is going to all work.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, it's a unique project. It's not anchored, right? So Geneva Commons, Lifestyle Center, everything else in this mix, there's Target across the way, Walmart across the street. Those are anchored projects, right? It's a lot easier when you have traffic driven into your project already to lease the ancillary portions of your project, right? This isn't that. This is, like I said, I mean, the pond is about 10 acres of 32 acres, or whatever, so you're a third of it being a pond. This depth it gets challenging, right? So, like, a lot of this plan was designed around zoning as well. Each lot is an acre or greater, right, which is the requirement under the existing zoning. But with that, I think that we're not trying to be a lifestyle center to compete with a lifestyle center. This is a unique project in that we want it to be a great experience. We want high quality, national retailers and restaurants. As far as parking, it's been brought up multiple times as well. There is a lot of parking here. There's a lot of green space as well. There's a lot of landscaping. These are bigger lots because they're an acre or greater per lot. But with that, I mean, we averaged the parking across excluding the dealership. There's some lots that are overparked, but like the average across all, how many lots is that? My math is off right now, but seven lots of the 12, 11 of the 12 lots are parked at a 4.5 per thousand ratio, which is pretty typical for retail, right? But if you look at this section was really designed for flexibility, right? Like we try to just depict to you guys based on previous comments and just visuals that, we have ideas what users we're negotiating with that may occupy a portion or all of these buildings, but this is a 13,500 square foot building footprint in which we could break it up for a freestanding restaurant of 8,000 feet with a bunch of parking. So it has that flexibility that works, and we need that flexibility as owners to really attract the right users for this location because it is unique and it is going to be challenging at points. But right now we're confident that it'll get off the ground. We're hoping in the spring, but I think permitting might take a little bit longer. But, we're confident with these uses that this will be a very successful project.
Okay, thank you. And I'm okay with the PUD as well. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All righty. Thank you very much. I'm going to speak a little differently than some of my other colleagues. I do support, I don't want to get into each use, but I would have no problem supporting a dealership or a truck stop. I mean, we have warehouses right behind it. It's a 6-lane road. There's an airport. There's a Walmart. I would rather have all that tax revenue if there was a truck stop. In my opinion, that's where it should go. The drive-through, yeah, you need ultimate flexibility. I do a lot of projects throughout the country. I would never even lease a spot unless I could have a drive-through at this day and age. Maybe you can speak to some of the numbers as a percentage of these businesses now that have drive-throughs. I go into McDonald's. If I go inside of McDonald's, nobody's in there. Like you mentioned parking, there probably is too much parking, but I'm just interested to see like nationally what kind of numbers are now drive-through or carry-out versus dine-in.
Yeah, from a business sales perspective, I mean, I think adding a drive-through increases revenue to 20 to 30% range for business.
No. Their business that is now drive-through or carry-out versus dine-in. Like a business that I'm a part of, about 70% of that business is now carry-out or drive-through versus dine-in, Is that what you're hearing from other
Yeah, I mean,
groups?
it is. I mean, like you look at, so I can't see because there's a note over this user, but you could probably guess this is a high-quality national user that has over 1,000 units. It's coffee. Their average unit volume is over $3 million and 900 square feet. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, you compare that to a Starbucks. I mean, their average is 1.6 million in cafe-driven versus drive-through driven. They have drive-throughs with some stores doing that, but this brand consistently does higher volumes, right? But I think it's a tough question to answer. I don't know that I have the right.
Well,
answer.
I feel like you would be at a disadvantage.
Correct. Yeah.
If you did not have that flexibility. The number of users would be very limited of
For sure.
who you could attract.
And even like the Sweet Greens of the world, where you're fast casual, health conscious, like they're not specifically they have a pickup. They prefer to have a pickup window, or like Tava Mediterranean, which is a popular brand today nationally. Those type of users prefer a pickup window, and they don't do volumes of a fast food user, right? So they don't have a drive-through lane that requires 15 to 20 car stacks, but it's nice for convenience to do a mobile app order. They don't even have somebody, you can't order at the window. You just order, mobile app order.
Sure.
Drive up, they hand it out the window, you leave, right? So it's a different world, obviously, but you hit it on the head. I mean, it's important to have the flexibility. I mean, these users will have to come back through for their specifics later on, obviously. So, like, this is just a staged plan with, it's market intel in mind with what we feel is deliverable. But, again, in a lot of these center lots, these 4 or 5 lots that are shown, like this building does not have a drive-through, obviously. That user is probably not moving forward today. So we planned it that way. I mean, nobody knows how it's going to work out entirely, but, we're very close with a lot of these users. I think there's a lot of flexibility with this plan, and ultimately it'll be very successful.
Yeah, I mean, my thing would be definitely the aesthetics would be very important. So whether the monument signs are different heights, I don't think it would look great if everything is just straight linear, maybe different heights, different elevations, different colors, just to give it more flavor. Sure. I would also, as we're sitting here with a huge snowstorm, I'd love to see how you're going to handle moving all that snow around, where you're going to put it. But overall, I support the concept, what you're trying to do. I support the project. That's the right corridor for it. If a truck stop could fit in there, I'd love to see where it would fit. I feel like it might be too tight because of the depth to do a proper truck stop. But overall, I think this is really good use of the property, and you definitely need to have the flexibility of the drive-through so you could be attractive to any user.
No, I appreciate your comments. And I probably know better than showing this many cars that are on here today. That's probably why we're getting so many comments. But this is just done for usually the the users in mind, to see that they could have more than they need as far as cars that are stacking and still be very functional, you know. So not the best thing for a plan commission to see with all these cars on here, but you know, these are just staged. These aren't actual users. So, you know, we would have to come back through with their use in mind with different building sizes and their own drive-through needs, right? So keep that in mind. Like I said, I mean, I would guess that we don't utilize every lot for a drive-through, but we are asking for it today.
Sure.
And as far as truck stop, we do show one on one of the option plans. It's not a full-blown truck stop with overnight parking. This is actually parking for a dealership. So
the Walmart's got the overnight parking.
Yeah, exactly.
It's already there.
But this was a plan shown with diesel and unleaded fuel, no truck parking, limited truck parking just for C-store, you know, to go in and out the C-store. So no showers on site. I mean,
yeah. No, so I like the overall project. The only one other thing I would love to have included would be if you would give us a little bit of space to do a welcome to St. Charles sign on your property. That would be very beneficial to us.
Yeah, and you know, we did design, I mean, so like some of these, I don't know which slide it is. Sorry, let's see. It's probably, let's see. I'm making you guys dizzy up there. Next one. Yeah, so something like this is just, again, we want to further define a lot of this art proposal for the project, and further develop it, but you know, this could be more linear. We could add things to it. I mean, it'd be nice to have an identifier for the shopping center as well, but you know, very open to, you know, having that as part of the project for sure.
No, great. Thank you. I'd love to see you invest in that property. That'd be great. Thank you very much for coming.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. So the positive and the negative of going last, I get to hear what everybody else has to say, but it took a lot of the things that I wanted to talk about. I do want to say I love the suggestion that you just made about monument signs for St. Charles. It actually rolls into one of my questions because you listed 4 monument signs for this property, and it seems like a lot for the space that it takes up, and I'm just curious if you can help me see exactly where those are all going.
Yeah, I think there might be some confusion on 4. We're actually seeking 2 multi-tenant signs. Let me find the plan. Sorry while I talk.
I think I misunderstood what I saw then.
Yeah, you probably saw it correctly, but it's not necessary. So there might be one here, but what we're really requesting is, let me make this zoom down so I could talk to both. So we're requesting a multi-tenant monument sign on this side and on the easternmost side. And then there's a knee wall, a decorative knee wall shown fronting that.
Okay.
It could be integrated. That's not developed yet, but I mean, it could be integrated into the knee wall if necessary. Typically, we put the knee wall kind of like that image I showed, but hold on, let me show it again so you guys zoom back out. Is this one or the next one? This is another project, but in a really old building behind it. But the, you know, this is a more linear kind of decorative knee wall.
Yeah.
And then there's a multi-tenant sign behind it. That's kind of what we're showing at each of those. It needs to be further defined at the next level, but this would be similar. So this would be kind of, you know, a decorative identifier knee wall, and then behind it would be the multi-tenant sign. So that's what we're seeking at each, you know, at Couch and then at Pheasant Run as well.
That makes a lot more sense. And I do appreciate the nod to the history by naming it with the moniker Pheasant Run, so that's helpful. I'm also curious about that, the intersection that you're lining up with the Target entrance. Is that something you're looking for signaling at, or are you going to be, it's already a a bit of a,
Bless you.
bit of a difficult, turn if you're coming left out of the Target. And so I'm curious how all of that traffic is going to flow if now you have a whole other access point coming at the same spot.
Yeah, we do have a traffic study completed. It'll be sent to you guys if it hasn't been already, but KLO is supposed to be here tonight. I don't know why they're not, but he could speak to that better.
Okay.
But we are showing, so there's no signal to answer your question.
Okay.
We don't see a huge amount of traffic jogging across. But as far as the intersection, I think there's a right-hand turn lane out of the site.
There is. There's a right and there's a left.
Yeah, and then there's basically today, what we proposed was there's not a left into this site, so that we were striping the existing median to have a left in southbound into the project.
Okay. Okay, that's helpful. And then I was also curious about access to each of these buildings. It seems like you're parking and then walking through a drive-through lane in a lot of them. And I'm curious, I mean, I see that you've done some work here to add sidewalks on the perimeters, and you did show that nice streetscape, but I am concerned about safety when you're looking at
Sure.
all of these, parking spaces, walking through the drive-through lane, and then access to the buildings.
Yeah, and it's kind of touching on an earlier point. So, the challenge with a plan like this is visibility, right? So, we try to align the fronts of a lot of these buildings to be very similar. It's hard when you really, unless you're a very destination-oriented freestanding restaurant, which this isn't really that type of project, but, we have a view corridor for these buildings, and even this bank building's impeding on that somewhat from the corner, right? So we try to align, a balance of parking and building visibility, but, each of these buildings are a little bit unique in nature. They're different users that are kind of proposed. So, obviously for this lot, this could be one or two buildings there is a drive-through lane. This is for your max parking or max stacking per code, which is like 15 stacks or something like that. Depending on the users, they may not require that. They may need more of a mobile pickup order that needs 2 to 5. So it's really user specific. We're negotiating with a few different users for it, but this building or these multiple buildings would likely be accessed from the north side, and service would be on the south side, service only. This drive-through lane would probably be shortened somewhat depending on who it is as well. But that's a multi-tenant building or two freestanding buildings potentially. Lot 5 is another multi-tenant building. This could be accessed from either side. So you could have dual entrances if you wanted to, which is pretty common. We do a lot of buildings that have dual entrances for multi-tenant as well. And then, a lot of the freestanding buildings are just dictated by proximity to the closest parking, essentially.
Yeah, and I would agree with my colleague here that the streetscape you showed with all the lights and the pavers and all that, it looks wonderful, but as I look at this site design, this does not look to me like a place that you spend time. It's a place to drive through or you pick up something, but it's difficult for me to see where I'm spending any time in this area because I'm not walking from one to the next or one to 4 more over. Based on the way that this is laid out, it doesn't lend itself to that particular kind of feeling. But that's for you to look at.
Yeah, I think the next rendition of this will really show the connectivity between lots, and we'll present a color plan so you can see that. But again, the patio areas for these future users aren't defined in this yet. So each restaurant or fast casual restaurant will have their own requirements for how many outdoor seating seats they want. And then you'll see those patios being developed. So it's hard to envision on this specifically, but like this building, there's a lot of uniqueness too. If we do 2 buildings, you can have an interior patio, a larger patio. We can eliminate some of the parking on either side of the building. So that's why, at this stage of the project, we show more parking than less because a lot of it's going to be eliminated for certain things like that.
Yeah, and I do want to think towards the future where, some of these businesses may not be there for 10 years. And what happens in that space next is important, and does this layout lend itself to other occupants? So that's concern. So I did have some things that I had written before your presentation, and I do want to make sure I hit on a couple of them. I would agree with my colleagues that talked about their preference towards the car dealership. I think it really does complement the existing strong sales tax generation that is happening right there in that corridor, and it would be complementary because it looks very much like what's already there. I am concerned with the number of drive-throughs. I understand that is the convenience world that we live in, but I am very sensitive to the fact that this is our eastern gateway into the city, and we have had many things that have come in that area that don't necessarily complement our comprehensive plan. I think that was not always followed, but I think it is important for us to think about what this looks like as you enter the city, especially if we're adding a monument sign that's welcome to St. Charles or drive-through after drive-through when we are a historic town. So it does concern me from that perspective. I like that you're interested in really negotiating on those parking spaces, though. If we're going to have that many drive-throughs, I don't want to also take up all the space with asphalt and parking spaces that would probably not be used. I would also say that it's a little bit repetitive as far as the things that we're seeing on our Eastern Gateway with that type of retail. But again, it's going to depend on what you're able to either lease or sell. I have been on the record a couple of times about how I am very unsupportive of banks and gas stations and car washes on our main street because they aren't the best land use for us on the Eastern Gateway and on our main street. There are a lot of other places we can put those, but we do have a fair amount of them right now, and they're very difficult to repurpose when they either go out of business or want to relocate. I realize that the existing zoning allows for all of these uses, and I understand that, but I'd encourage you to explore some destination-type venues. We have very high esteem for this site, given what it used to be, and I would love to see something that is a draw to the city, that brings people to come and visit and stay, and things that serve the community as opposed to a drive-through coffee place, which you could have pretty much anywhere. Anything entertainment-based, as some of my colleagues have already mentioned also. And then as far as the incentive, I think my support would be for providing assistance to address the site conditions because they are extraordinary, but not supporting incentives of what would mainly just be subsidizing standard use. Like car washes or this level of drive-through for convenience businesses. I'm just not able to support that. So those are my comments on that. Does anybody else want to add anything? Brian, thank you.
Oh, thanks, Jamie. I just have a follow-up question. I'm just looking for some clarity on version 31 of the site plan. Behind the gas station, there looks like there's a substantial amount of parking. What is that parking for?
That was originally for the dealership that we were talking to pretty early on. So it's so I mean, that's an old version. It's kind of just a placeholder right now.
Oh, okay. All right. Great. Thank you.
It's not for the gas station. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah.
Do you have any more questions? Is it a fair comparison if I'm coming down 64 and you've got, I know we've talked about banks, but there's a standalone PNC bank, you've got Portillo's, which is fast casual, you've got a single building, Potbelly's Noodles and Company, and like an athletic rehab kind of like, but those are all standalone, right? They're high-end, it's not, but is that a fair comparison when you think about what this site plan would kind of look like without using those brands and names? Is that a fair, when you look down this corridor, what kind of a concept of direction that this would be compared to, which would make sense coming down, what you see there, conceptually probably just extend that to the other side of 64?
I think it's fair in the regard that for use or users, essentially. I mean, I think that if you look down North Avenue, obviously McDonald's is across the street, there's a new Starbucks, there's a new Chipotle, they all have drive-thrus, right? I mean, there's a lot of traffic on North Avenue, and that's the attraction today.
I mean, more like like those are like all the buildings are unique, they're nicely done, it's spreading, but like as you come down 64 with this site plan and you're looking at the individual paths with maybe a car dealership in there, which there's already 2 car dealerships there, in a way, you have kind of an idea of what this looks like on a grander scale?
Yeah, I mean,
or is it something different than?
Newer, more innovative design. I mean, I don't think any of those, I mean, those are somewhat dated buildings or repurposed buildings, and a lot of, I mean, was it a Fridays or?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's a lot of repurposed buildings that don't have much significance or design aesthetic to them other than being updated or renovated, and I think that's a lot of the buildings up and down that corridor. I mean, I think this will be a standout project in that you'll have a lot of the upscale elements that we just mentioned, as well as, you know, high quality materials and design. And, you know, I mean, a lot of these national retailers that we deal with, their newer prototype design, you know, is innovative comparative to, you know, a repurpose. So, I mean, I think the overall look is a very attractive look. But it's not going to be lifestyle. I think it's a mix between, it's not like a lifestyle center, but you have some lifestyle elements to it that, you know, people can enjoy if they feel like enjoying it. There's a pond there, which is unique. There's not any other shopping centers with a pond. You know, I mean, there's a lot of unique elements in this as well. I mean, I think our landscaping will be more unique, right? You'll have a lot, I mean, I don't think any of those shopping centers have pedestrian connections or anything like that, you know what I mean? So it's different, but it's unanchored retail again. It's kind of a blend between, you know, a lot of what you see out there, but an updated version and a lifestyle center, so.
David has something. David?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm just curious, for the developer, do you have an idea of, you got our feedback and some of our thoughts, or all of our thoughts. Do you have an idea of when you might have a preliminary plan? Like a timeline?
Preliminary plan?
Well, isn't that the next step?
A revised plan?
Yeah, revised. Yeah, that's what I mean. A revised preliminary plan, or what you've incorporated, you know, from based on our comments.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, you know, we'll be in a position to resubmit this pretty quickly, in a more advanced revised version with a lot of what you're seeing, but also some additions and a colorful plan to give you more of an idea of the things I'm talking about versus other images.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. We have no action to take on this. This is just information. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you all for your time.
Want to add something?
Thank you. No, I just wanted to say thank you for your time. We really do think this process makes the project better, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thank you for being open to
thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, moving on to item B, recommendation to approve a resolution authorizing the execution of a professional service agreement with All Together for public engagement campaign for the downtown riverfront property.
All right. Good evening. So this would be a resolution to pass an agreement that would hire a consultant to do a public engagement campaign for our downtown riverfront property, or better known as the former PD site. This is kind of a continuation of our October 10th discussion where I presented the feasibility study. At the end of the presentation, staff was given the direction to hire a consultant for a public engagement campaign. Originally, we were thinking we would use the same firm, SCB, but they had indicated to us that they thought that this would be a better project for one of the firms that they use a lot for public engagement, a group called All Together. They are an Evanston-based firm, and they are, kind of to sum them up, I would say that they are an urban planning firm, but they specialize in public engagement. Okay, so they are brought on to a lot of projects like this where they have the technical skill set for land use and urban planning, but they kind of tackle the public engagement side. I did put a couple of the tenants a couple of the clients that they have used up here, but they kind of focus in the Chicago area, but then also the Wisconsin area, but they've done some projects all across the country. As far as the process goes for this, it's kind of put into two different steps. The first step would be an in-person event and an online survey. The reason for doing the first step would really be to look at the feasibility study, ask the public, our residents, our businesses, what do you like, what don't you like? So it's kind of a little bit more of a broader approach. Hopefully from step one, we're kind of funneling things down, maybe not officially, but hopefully we're hearing from enough people to say, this is the direction that we think we're going in. Step two would be a little bit more detailed. We'd be looking at what would be those preferred uses that we're hearing from the community and have another in-person event, but this would be styled in a way that it would be more engaging. We'd be really asking for our residents or some of our businesses to kind of give us ideas. How would you develop the site? So, for example, if we were talking about a public space, what does that look like? Are we doing a pavilion? Are we doing a band shell? Is there, how much do we care about retaining the parking out there? Do we keep the 1970s portion of the building? Do we do the boardwalk shops? Do we incorporate concessions, bathrooms, things of that nature? So it'd be diving in just a little bit deeper. After each one of these steps, the results and the engagement summaries would be provided to staff and city council, and then we'd take the next step from there. The maximum fee for this would be $34,800. Incorporated in that would still be working with SCB, which did the feasibility study. So we wanted that project manager that really knows the site like the back of his hand to be part of this. So as we get ideas from the public, we want that consultant that knows all the technical knowledge to make sure that what's being proposed is reasonable and is achievable. The public input period would probably start in January, maybe early February, and it would go till April. And with that, I can take any questions.
Okay. Down there again.
I guess we saw from the study, I think it was 6 options. Is that what's going to be presented to the public, or is this more, I know maybe you can't, I know you're just more looking for the idea for us to approve, that for them to do their thing, but are they going to do that, or is it more like, hey, what do y'all think, and give us your ideas, or is it based on the feasibility study itself?
The step one is going to be based on the feasibility study. It's anyone who wants to come in and say anything about any one of those, say that they're supportive, not supportive. At this point, we don't want to rule anything out until people have had that opportunity to really weigh in.
Okay.
You go, Vicki, first.
Go ahead. Down there.
Oh, I'm sorry, Vicki will bounce back.
Okay.
Go ahead.
One quick question. Does the cost include any expenses to send out flyers to the community, any sort of out-of-pocket expenses for?
Yes, that is included, the print materials and things like that. So.
Great. Thank you. I think it sounds like a good idea and a model for other big projects in the future, potentially. Have we used anyone like this before?
Not exactly like this. This is a unique firm in the sense that I think that they really focus on the public engagement part. It seems like they are always brought in to do that part because they're really good at it. So I think that's why our consultant that did the technical analysis kind of pulls them and uses them a lot.
I learned a new word with charrette.
Okay.
Has Altogether given any sort of projection forecast of what they can expect from, so they're going to do 2 different exercises, what type of return on the engagement can we expect from those? So you have a publicly owned, the city owns this piece, we're looking for direct feedback. It's a really big part of which direction we go, but is Altogether coming back saying, hey, we believe that we should hear from X percent of people, or have they given any sort of indication as to what we might be able to expect?
They didn't give any hard, data saying, hey, we're expecting that we're going to get, 400 people to respond to a survey. They didn't provide anything with that hard of a detail, but they do like to focus on getting people to show up and also participating in the survey. So
is it, again, this is not, it's not a privately owned lot that we're being asked to, provide our feedback. We own it, right? So we're in a unique position here where we can be a bit more. So one of the things I'm not concerned about, but it is so important that we get public engagement on this, but this is going to be it's going to be an investment and expense that's going to come largely from, City Hall and how we, talk to our friends at the Park District, et cetera, local business owners, and ensuring that I see, 3 to 4 weeks to ensure that, the online portal is open for feedback. Hey, that's great, but people are really distracted, and people are, I didn't go online. And, if you get 115 responses, is 115 responses enough for us to say this is the direction that we should go? And I get what we're paying Altogether to do to facilitate this, which is great, but I would feel more comfortable if there were some benchmarks or expectations at least that we can expect. If we're trying to get as much engagement to help us craft this vision of where we're going, you know, if 2 months or whatever it is enough time, but I want to make sure that you really hear from enough people, because it is our property, it is our investment, and it's going to be our responsibility to figure out where we're going. We're not just, well, we had 206 people respond to the survey, so we're doing X. Like, and I would hope that all together can, you know, they're the experts, we're bringing them in specifically because this is their wheelhouse, that could give us an idea of, you know, a community with 30,000 people with these demographics with X. I think you can expect this benchmark, and that gives me more confidence when we go down this path that we've heard from enough people.
Yeah, no, I think point taken, and I think we want to make sure that we're hearing from all of our residents as well as our downtown businesses that this would impact whatever it goes in some way, shape, or form. So, yeah, no, point taken.
Right, and I don't think for anybody that's sitting in this room with us, we're bringing it all together because, and they're not here to speak to it, but that would be my ask for them. I'm really hoping that they're able to say, yeah, we've got, you know, 22% participation response, the numbers are really good. You guys should be able to hear this response and have the confidence that, you know, we're moving forward in that direction, that it's not, you know.
Yeah. So, gotcha.
I think only 30% of St. Charles residents voted in the last election, though, so it might be tough to get a very...
It may surprise you, but being here for about 3.5 years, done a couple public engagement things of like this for other projects. Our consultants are actually blown away by our participation from our community. They think that we actually participate more than when they go to other places. Other places, it's like pulling arms and legs to get people to show up, and we do have a pretty active group of people who show up. So, but point taken, sometimes it seems to be coming from one area and not necessarily the entire city, and it's hard to kind of get those people from maybe may not be directly impacted by something.
Mm-hmm.
So,
we do have a hard time believing we won't have high engagement on this particular site.
Yeah, it's a good point. And doing it this time, doing it this way as opposed to the last sit and start that went through, I think, credit to all of us and to you guys for pulling these guys together. To Alderperson Bongar's point, it'd be nice to see what Lamont and Warrenville was also listed on what their percentage was.
Okay.
They're local, may not be exactly the same size, but they're not Madison or Green Bay, so.
Yeah, understood. And I should have said that we did actually call, I think we called 5 different communities and got very positive. We didn't get that percentage or that detail, but we got very positive reviews for all together. So.
Yep, and I think for the amount that it's, you know, not to exceed the $34,008, which includes that $1,100 for their reimbursable expenses, is really, to me, a pretty good price for what we're asking them to do. So, well done. Thank you, Derek.
David, I saw you had your hand up. Would you like to add anything?
Yeah, no, actually, my question was just answered. I was going to ask if we had reached out to Lamont and Warrenville to get their thoughts, but it looks like we did. Thanks.
Brian, did you have anything you'd like to add?
I support moving forward with this. I think when it comes to public engagement, we got a lot of it 3 years ago, and it was pretty vocal. So I think we kind of know what people want, but I'm totally fine moving forward with this. And if you look at, we had I think an engagement, some sort of community engagement before we even discussed the former police station property. And the number one ask was green space. And what came back was a massive behemoth of a property with a hotel convention center. So it was green space the first time, but I'm totally fine supporting this and moving forward with it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Nothing else. Thank you. Right.
I'm all good.
Steve?
Let's go. I'm all for it.
I don't have anything to add either. I'm happy with this.
Okay.
Okay, do we need to take a
Yes,
vote?
yes.
Okay,
Yep.
can
I'll
we
make
have
a motion.
Second?
I'll move.
So,
Weber moves.
motion by Weber and second by Spellman. Can we call the roll, please?
Bessner?
Yes.
Weber?
Yes.
Kulkaitis?
Yes.
Volk?
Yes.
Bongard?
Yes.
Muntz?
Yes.
Gem?
Yes.
Spellman?
Yes.
Petrella?
Yes.
All right, that motion passes.
Thank you, Derek. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and then we have our next item, C, of discussion regarding downtown southeast quadrant public improvement proposal.
I'll be handling this one as well. There is no vote on this. This is really just a discussion, and staff is seeking direction on doing some improvements on our southeast quadrant and our downtown here. So first, just to start out, our challenges with the downtown southeast quadrant. So this would be Riverside, Walnut, this area. Of course, we've had a lot of development and business activity over the past 5 years over here, and it's just got a little congested. I know a lot of you probably go to our downtown. You've been over here, and you probably have seen this, but you know, we've got cars that are coming in to park, cars who are just passing through, cars that look for parking, can't find something, so they circle the block and come back again. In the middle of that, we've got a lot of pedestrians that are trying to cross Riverside. We've got outdoor dining. We've got the Arcata there, people going to the show. And then on top of that, we also have a regional bike trail that goes right down Riverside. So there's a lot of activity here, and staff does feel that there's an opportunity here to kind of make this a better environment for everyone. So again, city staff is seeking direction to explore the design and construction of public improvements that are consistent with our city's ped and bike plan and our complete streets policy. So really at the end of this, I'm looking for just an informal kind of vote that we look forward to hiring a planning and engineering firm to do some design and engineering work in this area. You know, city staff has met. We have some ideas of how we can tackle some of the challenges that are out here. But really what we'd be asking our consultant to do is kind of starting with a blank slate. Looking at the area, really what we want is to increase pedestrian safety, increase cyclist safety, create a cohesive connection to the Fox River Trail that goes right down Riverside, maintain parking count. We know that there's a lot of business in this area. We don't want to see that parking down completely go away because it's vital for some of our businesses here. And then an evaluation of our utilities in this area. If we're going to do something where we're ripping up sidewalks, we want to at least look and make sure that there's not a water main underneath there that we're going to have to redo in, you know, a matter of 5 years or whatnot. In general, I do have a map here on the right-hand side of the screen. That is the area that we're looking at. We'd be asking our consultant, that's where it's kind of focused at. It is possible that it could creep a little bit in different directions based off of what some of the suggestions are. So for example, if we've got a bike lane that's now going to go down Riverside, we may need to look on the north side of 64 because that bike lane may need to correspond with the improvements that we do on Riverside. As well on Walnut, you know, we could be doing some pedestrian improvements that we'll have to look on Walnut to see if we need to make some improvements there just so everything is cohesive. Want to be clear, we're not really looking to do a project here where we're closing the streets and making a big plaza in this area. That's something I know that's been talked about before, but really what this would be, it would be a streetscape program. Proposed scope of services, so working with the consultant, we'd be looking for some type of existing conditions analysis. We do think, again, that there should be some type of public engagement process. We don't think this needs to be extensive, doesn't need to take, you know, a year or so. We think this could be pretty quick. Again, we're not doing something where we are redesigning something like the old PD site that we just talked about. This is a streetscape, and while we want that input, it doesn't need to be something that drags on for a very long time. We would be looking for them to, at the end of this, make recommended public improvements that we would look at. So probably starting at something that was more at a concept level, and then from there we would get into the engineering. So this is not hiring a planning firm that just does the concepts. It is something they would be doing the concept, and then that would go right into the engineering. As far as the timeline on that, it depends on what are the recommended improvements and what we're looking at. If we've got utilities that we need to do work on underneath, obviously that's going to take a longer period of time other than just replacing sidewalks and things like that. So looking forward to doing this for a bulk of 2026 though. All that in mind, we do have a consultant that we would like to work with because we have good experience with them, and that would be Civic Tech. They are actually the consultant that completed the bicycle and pedestrian plan and our complete streets policy. So we've had a good working experience with them, and a lot of the ideas or the projects that were put in the PED bike plan are being implemented, and we've actually utilized their services for that and been happy with it. And they are actually currently working on the bike and sidewalk improvements from 7th Street to 7th Avenue. So I've got the map on here. That's currently in process. So I guess this past year we did add the bike lanes on Illinois, which have gone over very, very well with a lot of our residents. And really we're just looking to expand that all the way down Illinois from 7th Street to 7th Avenue, which we think is going to be a great improvement. And they are the consultant that's working on that. They are also already looking at that intersection of Illinois and Riverside. This is an intersection that if you've walked across it, there's a lot going on there. It's hard to cross. That's something that we would really like to correct. And they're already looking at that, so it's kind of a natural fit for them to continue working on the design plan for Riverside Avenue. With that, I will take any questions.
We have Brian. You already have a hand raised.
Thanks, Derek, for your presentation. I just want to comment that I do support the public improvement proposal and going with Civil Tech since they're familiar with our bike and pedestrian plan. I do have one question. So did you say that they were going to look into the four corners at Illinois and Riverside, or is that a separate project?
So that is something that they are currently already looking at with a current project. So they already have an idea. So that's actually some information we'll have sooner rather than later. But naturally, those recommendations would fold right into this project.
And when do you expect a project like this to move ahead? And it's going to be paid for with TIF funds?
So the study itself would not be paid for by TIF funds. At least that's not how we had it structured before. But this is in our TIF district, which does have another 13 years or 12 years still left on it. So whatever improvements we did decide to make in this area could be funded by the TIF.
Great, thank you.
I totally support this. One of the things that I've mentioned a couple of times that winter retreats would be to, this is the only area downtown that still has overhead power lines. So if we are going to rip up sidewalks, I'd love to see that go underground and make it more palatable for, 2025, 2026 and moving forward. But yeah, no, I totally support this. I mean, it's so busy going down this street, whether you're walking, riding, so it definitely needs to be safer. Yeah, I like this a lot.
I will just mention overhead power lines. That is something internally we talked about. Just to note, that is ComEd lines. It also has our local lines on it too. Burying that would probably be very expensive. It's something that we can at least preliminarily look at, but that would eat a lot of our TIF expenses up. But it's something that's noted. I had a feeling you were going to bring that up.
Yeah. If you're going to do something, do it right. So.
Derek, I support this as well. I guess my only question would be, I'd like to see some focus on streetscaping, first off, in regards to, I don't want to mirror it to the plaza and to that quadrant, but I've talked a little bit about, in my initiatives, moving on to different quadrants, so I'm happy this will be one to focus in on. How much will they dive into just traffic in general?
Yeah, I mean, that will be a big part of it.
So the flow or the...
Yeah, and we actually did a traffic study about a year, maybe it's a year and a half ago. So we kind of still have to probably do another one of those just to see where we're at with it. So, and another thing a traffic study will do is actually count like the number of cyclists that go down, so we can see actually how frequently it's used and if we want to put more presence on accommodating cyclists.
Do you know if there's any vision of like having circular traffic just one way? Meaning one way around so that you can eliminate, as Alderman Weber was saying too, cutting it down to one lane for bikes and pedestrian flow.
I know when we did the traffic study a year and a half ago, that wasn't exactly looked at, but there was, the consultant did say that doing any type of work on Riverside would not be good just because of the traffic counts there, is converting it to one way. Walnut was kind of left as it wasn't truly studied, but that was more feasible. That's something that we could have the consultant look at to see if that was better. I'm not quite sure. I know it's been discussed, but I don't think it's actually truly been studied.
Okay, thank you.
David, did you have anything to add? I don't want to leave you out.
I support it as well. I think I agree with what my colleague said as well, and I also with Steve too. If we can bear those lines, I would definitely support that as well.
Thank you. Also support the goals of this project. Just curious, do you have any sense of the cost range for the conceptual plan?
Really hard since we don't even have a concept at this point, but I could anticipate this being anywhere from $1 million.
The concept itself.
The concept itself.
What we're talking about right now, yeah.
Gosh, I mean, because we're talking about engineering, we are talking probably over $100,000 for something like this, because it includes that engineering component to it, so.
So not just concept, but the engineering will be included?
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, fully supported, Darren. Thank you. We need to really look at that quadrant. You and I have talked about it, but it'd be a great spot to now incorporate Riverside for that section that they're not currently looking at. So thank you.
Thank you. Good. I love the fact we're always looking at anything to help with pedestrian and cyclist safety. Do you want to echo sparing the lives, although I will miss seeing all the birds up there for my entertainment value. But I do agree, aesthetically it'd be more pleasing. But anything down there to help us get a better idea to improve pedestrian and cyclist safety, I think is something we're all in favor for. So thank you.
I'm in support of it, and I'm glad we're not going to consider closing any streets.
Okay.
Yeah. And I just add that I also would love to figure out a way to bury the lines. I know that's unlikely. If they do start looking at one way, I just want to be careful that we're also considering downstream effects of that. If you are on Main Street and you're making a left onto that street, then it's gonna start now increasing some problem areas. So not just looking at that street, but also what feeds into it and what behaviors people are gonna make.
Understood.
So, but I'm very supportive of that.
Yeah. Just side note, as I'm looking at our fire department over there and public safety and police, to make that one-way street, that might cause some issues for public safety. I'm guessing just probably something they would look at, but just to make that point.
Yep.
And you do not need a vote for this?
No, I think I've got the direction I need.
Okay, fantastic, thank you. And our last item on the agenda is discussion regarding permanent supportive housing program partnership with Lazarus House. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Start us off and end us off tonight, right, Alan?
Okay, so tonight I am presenting a new program being recommended by our Housing Commission, which represents the new use of the Housing Trust Fund that meets rental assistance. The rental assistance to low and moderate income households is an eligible use of our Housing Trust Fund. The city's preference over the years has been to support homeowners and affordable housing development.
Excuse me, I can't hear. Can't hear.
Oh, I apologize. Should I start over? Were you able to hear me at all?
No. If you could start over, that'd be great.
Sorry.
Okay. Sorry about that. Okay, so I'm talking about a new program being recommended by our Housing Commission, which constitutes rental assistance, which is a new use of our Housing Trust Fund. The city's preference over the years has been to support homeowners and affordable housing development as activities that have a more permanent and concrete community impact. All of our existing programs, except the new home rehab program with Habitat, are loan-based programs from which repayments go back into the trust fund. So there have been concerns in the past that rental assistance would result in a rapid depletion of the trust fund with no concrete benefits to show for it. However, the Housing Commission is now recommending this new partnership with Lazarus House as an acceptable form of rental assistance due to the nature of the program and the fact that our funds are provided directly to Lazarus House as opposed to providing a grant directly to a tenant. So to provide some background, Lazarus House has run a federally funded permanent supportive housing program for about 20 years. Their program provides long-term permanent housing and case management for chronically homeless and disabled individuals. Lazarus House has expressed to us that the program is underfunded and there is more demand than they have funding for. So proposed is creation of a city-funded program modeled after Lazarus' existing federal program. So the city would fund one household for a 10-year commitment. The program would work the same way as Lazarus House's existing program. Lazarus House staff identifies a client based on the eligibility requirements, including experiencing chronic homelessness, having a disabling condition, and having a very low income. Lazarus House finds a rental unit that passes their inspection. The unit is then rented to Lazarus House directly as the tenant, and the tenant is the sublessee. Lazarus House pays the monthly rent, and the tenant contributes 10% of their income. The tenant meets weekly with their Lazarus House case manager as well. The program budget, funds would come from our housing trust fund. The budget would be $17,850 per year for a 10-year period, with an annual increase of up to 5% per year, for a total commitment of about $225,000. Lazarus House has requested a minimum 10-year commitment, since clients tend to stay in the program long term. And all funds would remain in our trust fund, earmarked for the program and distributed to Lazarus on a quarterly basis. So tonight we're seeking feedback on the proposal. If there's interest in pursuing, we'll prepare a service agreement between the city and Lazarus and bring that forward for committee consideration next month. And I'm happy to take questions. We also have Lazarus House Executive Director Christy Athis here tonight as well, if there are questions.
How much money is currently in our housing trust fund?
The current balance is about $2.2 million. A lot of those funds are earmarked for various programs and activities, so there's about $1 million available.
Assuming that can always support it, which obviously there's fees to do it right now, I totally support it. I don't want to have to come with a new revenue source, but it can totally be self-supportive, so I like this a lot.
Okay.
I'm all good with it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm supportive too. I know there's significant research showing that rent support programs can really increase stability and make the community a better place and provide, long-term support for people who otherwise would not have another solution. So I think it's a really good use of the funds that are really just been sitting there for a long time.
Yeah, I would too, fully support it. Lazarus does a great job, and now, as I'm understanding through some of the D303 Education Foundation is, the last report is there are 307 children that are considered homeless. So if we can find a way to help them, along with Lazarus House, who's obviously the expert in finding a rental, I'm all for it, and I think we should just go forward and get it done to get those people somewhere warm and safe where they can be.
All good. Just the 5% increase per year, where did that number come from?
That was offered as kind of an expected, what one might expect rent to increase on a yearly basis, and it's an up to 5%.
Okay, thank you.
I think it's a good idea. I think move forward with it.
David?
Thank you. Yeah, I support this. I know when I was a member of the Housing Commission, I know we had talked about this. Like Ellen had mentioned, we kind of didn't get traction in the past, so I'm glad that it is now. The only thing maybe a suggestion, so I'm looking through when I was taking a deep dive into the draft of the partnership program summary rather. So when it mentions rental unit to be inspected by Lazarus House, was there any discussion or, and again, not trying to burden our staff with more things to do, but I would just say, could the city also, since we are dealing with city funds as well, could they also tag team perhaps on the inspection? I'm sure Lazarus House knows what it's doing, but to ensure that their experiences, what if there are code violations or something like that? Are they able to identify that, or what are they looking for in an inspection? That was one thing that just came to my mind.
Christy, do you have background on the scope of your inspection?
Good evening, and thank you. My name is Christy Athis, ATHIS for the record. Yes, we actually have to take specialized HUD training, so we have specific staff members who are trained in facilities management who go through each unit and go through a checklist at least quarterly, often more frequently.
Perfect. Okay. That makes sense. I'm glad there's an inspection occurring, and it should, of course. I just didn't understand if you needed code enforcement to go with you or not. So that makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you.
Brian, did you have anything to add? Or questions? Brian, did you have anything
Oh, yeah, I just want to say that I support the program, so I think it's great. Thank you.
My only question is I just want to fully understand. So this is supportive housing for, the expectation is that these individuals will remain on this supportive housing for an indefinite period. So this isn't necessarily the proverbial leg up to help people to move on to the next thing. This is genuinely subsidized housing in that regard. Okay.
Yes, that is my understanding, that there's not an expectation that these people would grow out of the program due to their disability. That's the reason they've experienced chronic homelessness, and why this program is a good fit for them, because it provides housing long term.
Yeah, and I'm supportive of doing that. I would like to encourage the rest of our council to have conversations about our zoning and the way that we have essentially zoned people out of homes because of what we don't allow, and make this a little less difficult for people of all abilities, not just the disabled, but finding ways to allow for different types of housing, especially in our walkable downtown areas. So it's just my tiny soapbox, but I'm very supportive.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ellen. Thanks.
Okay. And now time for any public comment.
Steve Leffler. First, I want to give a shout out to the staff who created the mall website that recently went up. It looks great. It's got a lot of information on it that's very helpful. So big thumbs up to you guys for that. Thank you. Second, regarding the shops at Pheasant Run, I had a few comments as I was sitting here also. It seems very car-centric. We need, particularly along Route 64, we need a little bit more. We could use a bike lane. We need bike lanes in other places along 64. If we're going to develop that site, we should at least get a bike lane going along there, and that way it can be eventually connected on down east and west from there. It's a car area, so it's going to make sense to have a lot of drive-throughs, but I wonder, when it's noon on Wednesday and 100 people have gone to go get lunch, are they all going to be able to get in and out of that site fairly easily? Are they all going to be going to the opposite of the Portillo's entrance and be trying to all leave at the same time? And, what conditions is that going to create as they go in and out of, 4 or 5 different fast food joints, all trying to take their lunch and head out. When I came to this town and built a store over on Route 38, I built a tire store, and I was one of 3 or 4 tire stores in town, and next thing you know, there were 5 more. And let's just make sure that we don't cannibalize the other businesses that already exist, that have already laid down their roots here. And, we don't need more banks, and we don't need more mattress stores, and we don't need more tire stores. So I'm not sure how you guys do that with zoning, but it'd be something to consider. So that's all I got. Thanks, and have a great evening.
Thank you. Thank you. Do we have any other public comment? Any council comment or comment from the mayor? Yes.
I know it's late, sorry. Could staff please provide on the Claiborne Farms development, just what the next steps are, what the process is? Will the plan that is going to be revised go back to the committee, or does it come straight to council?
Yeah, our understanding is that the plan itself will not be revised. It will be the same concept plan, but the developer will bring some additional information in response to the comments that were heard at the Plan Commission. So we're expecting it to be the same plan presented.
Oh, I thought they wanted more time for change the plan.
No, not changing the plan itself. That was not our understanding.
Okay, and do we know what the timing is?
It's expected to be on a committee agenda in January still.
Will it go back to the I forget what it's called, the commission, and then?
No, it would not go back to the Plan Commission.
Okay.
It would just be a follow-up presentation of the same plan
Will the next
to
presentation
the committee.
be a vote or more presentation?
No, it's just a concept plan, so it's just for feedback.
Okay, thank you.
Any comments from staff? Okay, then
I
can
move that we adjourn. Second.
Okay, moved by Weber, second by Bongard. Can I have a roll call, please?
Fessner,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Kulkaitis,
Yes.
Folds,
Yes.
Bongard,
Yes.
Wunsch,
Yes.
Gem,
Yes.
Spelman,
Yes.
Trilla.
Yes.
Okay, we are adjourned.